students. My name is Iene Akpan. Welcome to our Information Technology class. Our topic for today is Information Transmission under the theme Basic Knowledge of Information Technology. Now, let's look at the objectives of this topic. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define information transmission, list ancient methods of transmitting information, identify modern methods of transmitting information. Now, let's begin the class. Since the inception of the world, there has been the need to transfer various kinds of information from one point, one person, or a group to another. What is information transmission, you may wonder? Let's look at a few definitions. Transmission is the process of transferring or moving something from one place, person, or thing to another. You can have an item at a point and you want to get it to another position. The process of moving that item to another position is called transmission. Information is described as processed, structured, or organized data. Knowledge acquired through experience, study, investigation, instruction, etc. is also known as information. You may wonder, how else can I understand this? You can have data acquired. For instance, you have digits, you have pictures. But when those pictures or digits are not put into context or a sentence, for instance, they won't make meaning. But when they are combined together to form something meaningful, then you have information. Therefore, we can say information transmission is referred to as the process of moving information, that is structured data, organized data, knowledge, from one point to another. For a long period of time, information has been conveyed in different ways. There are different reasons why we transmit information. Some of these reasons include enlightenment. We want to shed more light on a particular fact or data, we transmit information. Another could be information. We have storage or preservation. If you want to keep something valuable for a later use or later reference, we call the process of keeping that item away storage or preservation. Information can also be stored or preserved. Another reason we transmit information is for entertainment, to amuse people, to keep them happy, busy, and entertained. There are two major methods of transmission of information. They are ancient methods. These methods refer to times where there was no technology in use. As we can see here, a man is running on an errand to deliver a message from his village to another village. Another method is modern methods. Now, this refers to modern methods where we now have technology and information can be transmitted much easier. Before machines or computerized methods of communication existed, people invented ways by which they could pass their messages across to an audience, irrespective of their location. Some of these ancient methods were fire lighting or smoke. This method required the use of fire or smoke to send a message. In the olden days, when a message needed to be relayed, the use of fire came into play. Different tribes had different methods of creating these fires to send the particular message they intended to send across. The materials also used to create the fire determined the result of this smoke. Some created their own fire to show good news, some a distress call, some and interest in trade. But there was a shortcoming with this method of transmission. The messages sent were limited. We can see here, for example, these people are creating a fire and the smoke is going into the clouds. The people intended to see this message will see the signal and know the kind of message that they are transmitting. Another method was the gong or the beaten drums. Important messages or warnings were also sent to people by way of special drums or gong. When these tools were beaten, they relayed a certain kind of message to the people. There were specialized people who played these drums that knew how to interpret the messages they were sent to the people. These tools had a pitch like the tone of a human speech. That is why it could relay the message that they intended to send to the people, and they understood the message that was being passed across. Another method was town crying. This method involved someone who was officially employed to make public announcements in the streets. This method was similar to that of the gong or the beaten drums. The only difference is that someone has to speak to relay these messages. Some of these messages included town meetings, the birth of a child, the death of someone, sent from the palace in a village, or a chief who wanted the villagers to hear a certain message. And these messages most times were passed across in the early hours of the mornings or late in the night. They often used bells to draw attention to the listeners. They had special instruments also that they would hit or use to make noise that would draw the attention of the people, making them come together and then listen out for the message from the town crier. Another shortcoming with this method was that the people could only go a distance. This is an image of the gong that they usually hit when they want to pass across this message. This also is the drums that they beat when they are passing this message. Another ancient method is the pigeon post. This method of transmission involved the use of pigeons to deliver messages. They were also called homing pigeons. The messages, as you can see, were strapped to the back of this pigeon or the feet so that they are well secured and they don't fly off in the process of transmission. When these messages were strapped, they were set in the direction of the destination to fly. That is, after the messages were strapped to the back or feet of this pigeon, they will be set in the destination of the receiver for them to fly. They were a reliable means because they could fly above battlefields through smoke and always find their way home. In the times where there were wars, battles, and all of that, when soldiers wanted to send messages to other soldiers in another battleground, they used these pigeons to send messages to them. Other ancient methods include signs, where people would draw things or use flags with printed diagrams on them to relay messages. We had running also, where people would run from a particular village community to another village to deliver these messages by hand. It was quite exhausting. Another was whistling. People used whistles. It was similar to that of the beaten drum, gongs, where people used sounds to pass messages, illustrations, carvings, etc. Now, modern methods of transmission. These modern methods now make use of technology to send these messages across to people. It's quite easy and more reliable. Let's look at some of these methods. We have the telephone. This method involves the use of a telecommunication device where two or more people communicate or pass across information between themselves through voice calls. Nowadays, we are more familiar with these devices. Here is an example of what a phone looks like. Now, everybody can handle one because it is accessible and easy to acquire. You could pass a message to someone by calling the person and communicating whatever message you have to the person. It's quite easy, such that you don't need to travel all the way to deliver this message. A phone call will do the trick. Another is the internet. This is a collection of networks that links computers located in different parts of the world. It helps people access, transmit, receive, and store information with ease. Different computers in different parts of the world can now communicate with themselves by use of the internet. We can see an illustration of the internet. We have this large ball that signifies where all the data is, and these different devices from different locations accessing the information at the same time. At the comfort of their homes. They don't need to step out to get this data. You can as well. That is why it is called the internet. Another method is the television. The television is an electronic means of transmitting information to a wider audience. It displays information using moving images, graphics, videos, etc. on a screen. Here is an example of what a television looks like. We can see an image on the screen. Most of us are familiar with this because we have them in our homes. We can get information through the television from news stations or educational programs and so on. Another modern method of information transmission is the email. It's short for electronic mail. This is an electronic way of sending or receiving written messages. You know, when you write letters to your siblings, to your friends, there is a modern method of doing that now, and it is called the email. We can get information through these sources. A computer user sends or receives a message from another user by means of a computer or a mobile device. To make this work, each user must have an email address. Just like you have a house and that house has an address where someone can send a parcel to, that is the same way you should have an email address to receive or send an email to someone. As we can see, this depicts what an email is all about. You can see an envelope with a letter inside of it. So this is transmitted from one computer user to another with the information inside of it. Another modern method is the flash drive. A flash drive is a portable storage device. Remember, we earlier said reasons why we transmit information could also be for storage. It is used to retrieve, store, transfer data between devices. This is what a flash drive looks like. As we had earlier said, it's quite portable, meaning you can tuck them away in your pockets or school bags without feeling quite heavy. The information to be transmitted is stored in this device. How it is used, it's plugged to a computer. The information is transferred into this device and stored or used to transfer to another system or another device. It could also be referred to as a USB flash drive, a pen drive, or a data stick. Another modern method is the CD or DVD. The CD stands for compact disc, while DVD stands for digital versatile disc. These are optical discs that are used to store digital data such as audio files, images, videos. Some of the music we listen to nowadays are stored in CDs, so we slot them into our CD players at home, in the car, and we are entertained by the music we listen to. Information also is stored on this device or this compact disc. The difference between the CD and the DVD is that the DVD can hold more data, more information. It has a larger capacity to carry data. This is what a DVD and a CD look like. They actually look alike. The only difference is that on a DVD, it is being written DVD, while on a CD, you will see it written CD. The data stored can be viewed by playing on a computer or a television. Other modern methods include prints, like magazines, newspaper. As we can see here, the information to be passed across is typed on paper, coupled together and sold. I'm sure we've seen maybe our parents, uncles, or vendors sell or read these magazines. We also have satellite video conferencing, where people want to have meetings and pass across information to each other. Instead of traveling to these destinations, they make use of video conferencing. You can see one person in his location communicating with as many people as possible. And this information is passed across at the same time to these people without moving an inch from wherever they are. Also, we have the radio, where we listen to news being broadcasted or information passed across. Let's look at forms of information transmission. What forms can these information come in, or these methods come in? Information can be sent or received in the following forms. We have one, the audio form. This is a form of transmitting or receiving information based on hearing. This way, all the information you receive can only be heard. The means of transmission that send these forms of information include the radio, telephone, drums. You can't see the person who is relaying this information over the radio. You can only hear the person and what they are saying. Another form is the visual form. This form of information transmission involves the use of vision, that is, the eyes. You can see. That is, using images, text, or symbols that can be seen or read to convey a message. A form of transmission that carries this form of information is the magazine. We also have the television. You can see what they are showing you on the television. Another form is the audio-visual form. Here you can both see and hear. So it makes use of both the audio and the visual form of information. Examples include television, video conferencing, and so on. So here you can both hear what they are saying and you can also see what they are showing you. We've come to the end of this lesson. Let's look at what we learned so far. We said information transmission is a vital part of communication. It is the transfer or movement of information, knowledge from one place, person, spot to another. We also said there are two methods of transferring information. They are the ancient methods, and we saw some examples which included fire lighting, beaten drums, pigeon posts, etc. And we have the modern methods, which we also saw examples that included the telephone, email, television, etc. We also said that these methods could either be in audio, visual, or audio-visual forms. Now, let's test ourselves on what we have learned. Question 1. Which of the following is an ancient method of transmitting information? Is it A, email, B, television, C, firelighting, or D, flash drive? If you chose C, firelighting, you are correct. Question 2. One of the following is a modern way of information transmission. We have A, smoke signal, B, town crying, D, video conferencing, and D, beating drums. If you chose C, video conferencing, you are correct. I hope you enjoyed today's class. See you next time.